Welcome to the Key to Growth podcast, Home Services Marketing Unlocked, with me, your host, Jen McKee. Every week, I sit down with top marketers in the trades, from the brains behind $100 million companies to those scaling from 1 to 3, even to 10 million, breaking down exactly how they got where they are and uncover the secret to their success. If you're ready to grow your business and get real, actionable insights, you're in the right place. Let's unlock the key to your marketing success, starting now.
Welcome, everybody, to the Key to Growth podcast. I am your host, Jen McKee, and today we have a very special episode because we are recording live. We have a live studio audience here with us at Service World Expo by Service Nation 2025, and I have a great guest here, Mike Venidis. If people do not know who you are, please introduce yourself.
Well, how's it going, everybody? I'm Mike Venidis. Well, I guess I'm a marketing expert, right?
That's what we're here for.
15 years into home services, helping build and grow a well-respected marketing agency called Rhino Strategic Solutions. And I don't know, I learned a thing or two along the way. So it's a pleasure to be here and try and actually give value to those of you kind enough to hang out with us.
I'm super excited to have you here. So some of you guys listening or watching may not know, but the Key to Growth podcast is a marketing resource for home service companies. So I'm excited to get into that with you. But I really like to start with the beginning and how you found yourself into marketing for home services.
Oh, man. Yep. You know, I always joke, I say I didn't have this ambition to go into marketing, and I didn't have this ambition to go into the home services. It just kind of happened. You know, and the wildest thing about it, 2012, just the wrong place at the wrong time. Attempted robbery went sideways. I got shot 2 times and left for dead in a park by a 13-year-old child, right? And it's wild, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I ended up obviously in this amazing industry, you know? And when you have a traumatic life experience like that, it gives you this unmatched passion when you're living life at everything you do. So, you know, I was in recovery and I was just looking for a job, and it just so happened that the founders of the company saw a Facebook post, and I just kind of started from there in a contracted role where I would listen to phone calls, which I eventually found I was the CSR, so I didn't know at the time. And here we are.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Also, I love that Facebook brought you here because social media is powerful. So good lesson there.
Yeah.
So what did the industry look like in marketing versus now? I mean, it's so different.
It is so different. You know, I try to think about the way I could position that to where it actually makes sense. It's you know, in the
yellow pages versus
well, it's a good one, right? I mean, now we stand on the yellow pages to get to the top shelf in the cabinet. Back then we used it.
So crazy.
Yeah, you know, I think there's a lot of things that are different. I think, you know, even back then in 2012 when I started, you know, you'd have Google do some very basic things. You know, you put a keyword on a page, a lot of very basic tactics to get your websites ranked higher on Google. And, you know, I look back over the last 15 years and how complex it's become, in digital marketing, and with the artificial intelligence coming into the space, you know, there's a lot of fear mongering and confusion and things like that. So it's kind of hard to say, well, what's going to happen? So I think there's elements in digital marketing that have changed a lot. But even the industry, you know, in my personal career, 15 years ago, I didn't even know what SEO was. You know, I didn't know that you could actually modify a website and cause it to rank higher on Google.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting seeing how consumers change too. You know, you've got demographics that grow, and as they grow, even in social media, right? You've got different age demographics that are almost hanging out in certain platforms, whereas other platforms, some of the older demographics exist. And I think it's interesting when you try to tap into that avatar and figure out, you know, where do I want my business, especially in social media, right?
Yeah. It's almost a better question to ask, what's the same?
Yeah. Well, you know, when I think about what's the same, I think you've got an avatar and a demographic. Where do they hang out? You know? The concept of how you buy and how you market and how you choose your company it really is the same. It's just the amount of awareness and distractions that are changing. The fundamentals and the tactical buyer decision, I think, is very similar because it's emotionally driven, right? And we don't really evolve like in that sense fundamentally, but now you've got so many luxuries and, so many different things that exist that it's very easy to distract the consumer and get lost, and figure out, where do I need to go? Where do I need to be? How do I need to get there?
So I think that actually brings us into the home service buyer psychology. I'm really curious about this. And why is it important? Like, tell us what that means and why it's important.
I love talking about it, because it's like, those are the fun things. I think, if there's anything that I learned in marketing, there's a lot of marketers out there that spend a lot of time trying to master marketing itself, but they don't really spend a lot of time learning the psychology behind it. Like, how well do you actually try to relate to people, And I think it's something that I've been blessed to have. Like, when you go through traumatic experiences and when you are like, I'm a higher, like, emotionally charged person, and the benefits of that is you try to relate to more people, right? Like, there's every single one of you in the audience is uniquely different. And I think where marketers go wrong is they get set in their ways and they have their stances and they say, this is what we have to do. This is how we have to do it. But they don't actually say, well, what's the minority? What's the thing that maybe you don't think they would do? And do you compound that in order to find all of the low-hanging fruit that everyone else is missing because they're stubborn and they're set in their tactical way? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a buyer psychology, I think, it's what separates truly talented marketers from others. Because if you understand how they're thinking in the moment in which they're buying and where they are in the funnel, you can relate to them more. And when you can relate to them, you can make a tactical approach on how to get them to do or go where you want them to go.
I had a mentor that was studying psychology and she's an incredible marketer. And that's such a big part of it, is understanding psychology. She was also studying law. I think that's another good part.
Yeah. It's so important. I think we miss it. Like, we just want to be the best marketers, but we don't want to be the best listeners, or we don't want to be the best relationship experts. And the more you can relate to people and put yourself in their shoes, I think the more tactical you can get with your marketing strategies to do things that a lot of people either aren't thinking about.
Can you think of any time that's been really successful, like a use case that's been really successful?
For sure. I mean, I honestly think it takes the most impact, right? Like at Rhino, like, a lot of my experience was search engine related. I wasn't really using networks to buy leads, and I would come up with like guerrilla marketing tactical ideas all the time because I'm an idea guy. Like, that's something that I've always been good at. But digitally, it kind of gets simplified. In Google, it really comes down to 3 basic channels. And when the search engine has as much of the market share that it has, you go, hey, it's LSA, it's PPC, or it's SEO, at least in the home services, right? And when you start to look at the control levers of those different channels and what you can do, PPC is the one that gives you the most tactical upside, right? Like, you can get specific and precise about what you're trying to accomplish. So for me, like, a lot of those unique scenarios happened in that arena, and that's where the buyer psychology comes into play. People don't like PPC and they don't like Google ads because they're expensive, right? Like, nobody wants to pay massive amounts of money. It dips into your ROI. But, when I think about the amount of creativity that you can apply there from, where is your location? Have you actually studied the geo targets and what the values of the homes are? Does it make sense to even run an ad here? Because the conversion rates or the average tickets don't really line up. But I think the most, unique thing we've ever done is just really focus on value propositions. Like, when you think about buyer psychology, how many people scroll past the PPC ads?
Yeah.
How many people stop? But why do you stop? Why do you stop? And what do people value? They value time. They value, discounts, money, right? They value convenience. So then, as an operator, what are the different things that you can do? And when you pull those levers to be able to create a value proposition that's worth stopping for.
So are you separating them by demographic? Like, when you're thinking about a buyer personality, separating each demographic into these different buyer personalities and creating content specifically for those.
Totally. So, like, for me, if I'm getting tactical, like for your viewers, I like in an HVAC space, I would always separate, right, my repair campaigns from my change outs or my installs. We got 2 different buyer situations. One's emergency back. The other one isn't always emergency back. So why would I put all my money into one bucket and not the other? one of the things you miss on agencies, right, is like we put all this money in the campaign, but you don't watch it every day firsthand. You trust the agency to do it.
Yeah.
So the issue becomes, if I fill my job board for the week, why am I still spending clicks on repair campaigns? Because I can't even do the work if I can't get to the home fast enough. You should be moving that money into the separate campaign. Now, that's just one example, right? Like, and that's just how you set up an ad campaign. But at the same time, you'd be surprised how many times I see a PPC campaign lead to a landing page and they use one universal landing page. One. The whole point of a PPC ad is value propositions. It's deals. That's why we go to the ads, because we want deals. So really, the landing page should be about the deal, not the business. Like, the brand should be there and it should be obvious who they are and what they do. But like, if you ask me, in the PPC world, the landing page should always be really emphasized on what the actual deal is, because that's what they're looking for when they come into a PPC ad.
But can we please talk about why the landing page is so important?
Because it's the number one reason PPC campaigns fail, right? There's really three basic metrics that I watch as a marketer in the PPC world. I look at impression share, which is how often am I found, right? And if my impression share is up, I know I'm being seen. So that's good for my brand. Number two, click-through rates. Okay, well, obviously to do business together, I need you to choose me. There's multiple ads. So I really need to make sure that the ad is enticing enough to generate a click, right? If I can get the click, now you've come into my world. We've narrowed down your options into one place. Those are the easy things. Most marketing agencies can get decent click-through rates and impression share. You just throw money at it, right? But the real game that Jen's talking about with the landing page is the conversion rate, and that's where marketing agencies fail. Because you can set up an ad campaign all day, but what you need to have a successful landing page is someone that's visual. They need to understand how to build that page to get into the mind of the consumer, to get them to do what you want them to accomplish, right? So where are you putting that special? Is it obvious? You have 3 seconds to convince me that this click was worth my time, because I was skeptical from the start. When I come into that landing page, I'm looking for that deal. And if I don't see it big front and center, I'm out, because I never expected it to be a deal from the start.
Yeah. Yeah, really, what we see is it's got to be like the least path of resistance to get somebody to commit to something. And I always remind people to like think about them, how they consume content and how they consume anything. And if you're clicking on something and then you go to a page that has nothing to do with whatever you clicked on, like, they're not going to like figure it out. Like, It has to be right there. This is the next step. It's very obvious. And then they're committing. Otherwise, you've completely lost them. So I just thought that was a good thing to call out, because I know that's a problem a lot. And it's not always marketing companies. There's great marketing companies out there. Yeah. But it's just a problem that people run into a lot.
You're in the social world, though. Like, so that's your superpower. It's why it's important to call out, because I think in social media, you're dealing with a different environment, right? Why do people go into social environments versus Google?
Yeah.
And I think being in that mindset is what it is.
Zone out. They're not trying to find a solution. They're trying to zone out. Yes, you got to have good creative.
So
Ask
true.
Lawrence.
So true.
All right. So I want to get into like AI a little bit. I actually saw you speak about AI in marketing earlier this year, but I want to talk about, I guess, I feel like it's obvious, like, how is AI changing marketing? Maybe you can give us just one really tangible thing that somebody could do using AI to positively impact their marketing strategy today.
Thinking of the best way to really kind of, I'll bucket this. I always think when people are learning, like, how do they consume, retain, and remember, right? And, when you saw that presentation, I always bucket things into threes. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do the same thing right now. When it comes to artificial intelligence, I look at 3 things you can do. I look at what you can do on your website, because it's in your control. I look at what you can do off of your website, because there's limited control. And then I look what's called technical components of your website, right? Because of the way large language models and AI works, it's using your website as it's a database. Like, it just wants the information. It doesn't want you to go to the website. It just wants you to understand what exists there, right? So it can give answers. Mm-hmm. And the 3 tangible things that I would give, one, on the website, I think the content strategy needs to be no longer keyword centered. It needs to be topical centered, right? So you have to change your thought process. Like, when I'm writing content, I'm not necessarily as focused about how many times I put a keyword on a page. I'm more focused on the depth of the wisdom and the education that I take, like, when I'm writing that content, right? So I think the way that we write content has changed. Like, is it conversational? Is it question-based? Is there, a Q&A tone of like a did you know element? Because a lot of people that use large language models are really looking for wisdom and education.
It's
right?
Conversational.
Exactly.
It's not just a
two-way.
Yeah.
And then I think the other two elements, offsite, I've been telling people to watch the relationships very closely. Like, I do think that Google is playing their cards well with Gemini, and they're going to try and maintain the market share. I was having a conversation with someone earlier at this event, about our prediction. Ken Moskowitz, he's around here somewhere with the Clover team. But, we think Google will eventually change the model to be AI-driven, just like ChatGPT and how the user enters. And does that help them retain the market share, or do they continue to lose market share, to OpenAI and ChatGPT? But you have to watch these things because the offsite elements, it's now political. Like, let that sink in. There are political things occurring. Like, if you go to the OpenAI website, OpenAI is creating formal partnerships with some of these, lead aggregators. Like the one I talked about was Thumbtack, right? Yeah. Like, go in and look what sources it's using when it gives you the answers. Mm-hmm. OpenAI has these relationships. Google has these relationships. Go look at the court case, the antitrust trials. Reddit is suing Perplexity right now. And if you watch what's happening here, we are all in a race to artificial intelligence. So if you pay attention, you get educated, you can kind of see it's just like a stock. And what I want is for every home service company here to be on the forefront of that and to understand, like, what's going to happen so that you can capitalize on that. That's always been my dream. It's to create millionaires at home service companies and have them say, hey, the strategy you gave me, like, that was a huge component of that. That's just what fills my cup, And the last thing I'll say is your technical components, your websites. You really do need to start making sure developers are setting this up in a way to where crawlers can access it. Is it fast? Because if I'm ChatGPT and it takes me forever to get information from your website, I'm not going to suggest it. Mm-hmm. The technical, elements matter of these websites more than ever. These SEO companies, they're becoming like attorneys. They're like AI attorneys because they're the ones that built, the sources that AI is tapping into to be able to operate.
Opens up so many crazy things I don't think we have time to.
But I'm here all week. Just come say hi.
Okay, so I want to shift a little bit more into kind of your thoughts around personal development. I feel like that's been a really big theme at every conference that I've been to recently, and I feel like it actually it speaks to how important your personal brand is. But like, this is on my social media side, but really just being authentic and being you and being like Jade Simmons was talking about yesterday, like being different and being okay with what that is and bringing that to the table. So why do you think that personal development is so important for business success?
Well, I think that business and success, there are a lot of elements to it, but like the way that I think, I try to simplify things because I think it's interesting. Like, life always comes full circle. We overcomplicate things to the extent to where then we long for simplicity, right? Because simplicity is scalability. And I think, if you take all of the complexity of business away, and you were to say, hey, I probably would have the greatest business on the planet if I had every single employee be the greatest human on the planet, right? So theoretically, if I take one person and they are filling all of the essential buckets, right, from your health to, your faith to your mindset, and you really have this atmosphere in which we're all striving to become the best possible human being we can be, essentially the business element becomes, how do I just make sure that these people are now communicating and operating and crossing paths in a healthy environment? Mm-hmm. And I think the other way I put it is I can't tell you how many times, and some people might hate me for this, but I'm a genuine person and I say it how it is. Being at an agency of that size, you meet a lot of business owners, a lot of operators, and some of them I see they have mass amounts of money, but it's so obvious when you look at how they treat themselves, their health, or even how they communicate that like, that's great. Like you played the business game well, but there's another game here you're not playing well.
Yeah.
And you can't hide that. People have a vibe, like they can sense authenticity. It doesn't matter what you accomplish in your life. I can meet the most successful planet in the world, but like, or the most successful person in the world, but like, if you're a dick, I don't want to hang with you. So great job. Like, I'm glad that you've accomplished the things, but what fun is life if you're doing it alone? And that's what happens, So I say all that to say, I think your personal brand is everything. I think your personal development is everything. I tell you guys, like, you essentially live 7 lives in one life. You go through parenting, you go through, you're a teenager, you go through all these things. And there's one thing that stays with you through every single journey. Trust me, I know. I was at that agency for 14 years. That was my past life, and I miss it dearly, but I'm not there anymore, and I can't be there if I want to continue to grow and be the person that I try to inspire all of you to be. And you go through these different chapters, the one thing you always have at the end of the day is your character. Your character. So why would you not put your personal development at the forefront of every single thing? It's the thing I do every morning. It's a non-negotiable. I don't do any meetings before a certain hour because my health is in there, my mind is in there, my faith is in there, and I won't give that up for anyone, no matter how important it is, because I'm good for nothing if I don't have me. And if I don't have me, I can't help you. That's the most important part, because life is about giving. You put me on one on that. That's all your fault.
So you've had obviously such a powerful impact at Rhino, but you just said you're not there anymore. Yeah. So maybe it's time to tell us what is next.
Yeah. It's been fun. I've been experimenting with this. For the last 3 weeks, I've been like, let's just see what we can do, and it kind of cracks me up because this little logo I've been posting on social media, it was a gift, it was a Christmas gift. Like, my mom thought it would be cool. Yeah, she's like, hey, what if we had like an electronic signature? And I'm like, oh, but they looked really cool. And the personal brand thing happens over time just because, like, you're a passionate guy. And I am consistent. I'm like a repetition person. You do it over and over and over, and like it just sticks, right? But what's next? I have a big vision here. Like, my entire life, like, when I think about that shooting and I think about what happened, I always tell people, man, I just want to do something meaningful. I just want to have purpose, and I want to help people. And like I said, I didn't choose the home services. It chose me. And when I think about, what this industry, our industry, did for me, over that 14-year window at that agency, man, I love this industry. Can you guys just, like, give a round of applause for this industry? Like, this is our lives, And these homeowners, like, this is the backbone of this country. Like, I get worked up and I get, like, really freaking passionate about it because you have this ability to make impact for the greater good. So for me, I thought that the best route, to really continue to be the example, it's like I will continue to post, I will continue to try and do all of these things, but the best thing I could have did was do something I've never done before. Be what I tell everybody else to be. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do something I've never done. I have no idea. And then we've decided, my wife and I had decided we've always wanted to enter entrepreneurship. And we had an incredible opportunity, to partner up with a well-respected individual, Jason Henderson, sitting in our crowd. What's up, brother? It's good to see you. And Jason is I respect him. And it's important to surround yourself with individuals that challenge and grow you. And I thought, well, I've had to represent home services for 15 years. What better than to be you? All the people that I had to work with. It would be really cool to put myself in their shoes and be on the opposite side of the fence and learn, because I'm not going to act like I know everything. Like, I can lead an agency, but ask me if I've ever owned and led a home service company before. But that's the beauty of it. And the bigger vision here is, like, I'd really like to create a network. Good Golly, we're excited. This is a national garage door company, and we're going to take this thing, to a level that nobody's ever seen. And I think it's exciting because what I want to do is I want to showcase that. What everybody keeps asking about the personal brand, and this is the fun stuff, and I want all you guys to hear this clearly. I'm a giver. I'm a community guy. I like to change lives for the greater good. And what I'm building here on MikeVenidis.com is something I call the House of Good. It's all about giving back. It's all about good community. And my vision is, like, you don't spend 15 years learning everything to know about marketing and buyer psychology to just let that go to waste. So I will be giving this 100% free. You guys can go to MikeVenidis.com. There's a form. You fill it out. It's 100% free. All it is an email list. It's that simple. Every single month, you will get a 1-hour option. Like, I will be teaching this month. I will be teaching this month. SEO, PPC. And all you got to do to attend that class is be quick, because it's first come, first serve. And guess what? It's 100% free. The only thing you have to do to get in that room is do something good for your community. And you will sign on that. You're not going to tell me, hey, I'm going to go give back to the Grow Foundation. You're going to sign. You're going to sign on that piece of paper. You're going to commit how you're going to give back to that community. And once we have that formal, you can come into this room and I'll give you everything I know for free. That's the House of Good.
I love that. So I mean, I feel like you've spoken so passionately about this, but like, how did you come to that idea that was how you were going to do this? Like, why is that important? I mean, that's an easy question, but I guess how did you come to that conclusion?
Sometimes the easiest questions are the hardest ones, right? Yeah. Because like you don't want to really say anything cliche, but like for me, it's about influence, it's about impact, it's about making a difference, it's about the relationships along the way. Like I've never been a money motivated guy. Like when I sat there in the park and the shooting happened, like I didn't think about how much money was in my bank account. Like I thought about my mom. Like, I think if anybody's heard the podcast, she was who I called. I left her a voicemail, right? I didn't even call the cops. Like you think about the people you're leaving behind, and you say, what did I do? And it's kind of interesting because I don't really think about legacy and what I leave behind. I think about like how I can make change now. But like when that moment comes and you think this is it, you do think about that. You think, well, like what I've got 5 minutes left. Like, what do I do? What do I do with this 5 minutes? And you got to make it count. And that's an overwhelming feeling. So, I think to answer the question, like really, it's about exposure. It's about influence, right? Like if I can give back and we can do incredible things together that are genuine and truthful and real, and I can really inspire people to work together in a community platform and truly take this industry to the next level, that to me is so much more empowering, and it's much more of a legacy than the amount of money I made or, the amount of businesses that we've built and sold. That's just fun. Like business is just fun because it's like a extension of personal development. But I don't know, community is just, it fills my cup.
I love that. I think that so many people want a reason to get more involved with their community or want to know how. So I think making it a non-negotiable is a really great way to help other people hold themselves accountable as well.
It really is, and it's important to like, think about who you sit with too. Like I always call out like Andy Hobaika. He's got a nonprofit in Phoenix, called One Bag at a Time. And, like, God, like I miss the rhinos. Like those are my people. I love them and I'll be cheering for them. But like, you have to lean into hardship and the unknown if you want to grow. And, I remember crying as I walked out the door because I was walking away from something that I genuinely cared about. But I also understood that if I really wanted to do more for the rest of the world, I had to do that. Mm-hmm. I had to go through that.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing when you got these nonprofits and that impact. Like we would give back, once a month at that agency. And I'm just so wired to do that. Like now Andy's created that for me. Like we get to go and give back to the homeless every month, and that stuff sticks with you. So I say that to say, guys, like in your businesses, think about how you're giving back to the community, because I'm telling you, your employees watch you. They don't just listen to what you say. They watch everything you do. And when your actions align with your words and they see you being the example and giving back to your communities, we talk about how personal development is a compounding effect. So you are training them. Like you look at it as a cost. You look at like, okay, well, the business is closed. I got to pay for these employees to go and give back, or whatever model you're doing. But you're building character and you're building people, and it will reflect within the quality and the services of the organization.
Awesome. Okay, so we're coming to the end here. I've got a clock I'm watching tick down, but you're here on the Key to Growth podcast. And so the last question that we ask all of our guests is, what is the key to growth?
What is the key to growth? It's action. That's the key to growth. I mean, I'm a mindset guy. I'll talk mindset all day. But I'll tell you right now, you have the greatest mind on the planet. But if you don't do anything with it, it doesn't mean anything. I used to say knowledge is power all the time. It's not. Knowledge isn't power unless it's applied. And when somebody said that to me, I never said it again. Like, I'll never tell you knowledge is power. It's great. But application is what really separates the goods from the greats.
So true. Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you guys all for being here as well. This was awesome.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you hanging out with me.